So just to introduce our first speaker, Leisa is a proven health and healing mentor and raw foods coach. She speaks all over Australia. She's dedicated to changing people's lives throughout nutrition and superfoods, a word which is on everyone's lips at the moment. She's helped thousands of people with her amazing approach to health, and she's here tonight to touch on some wonderful subjects about superfoods, health and nutrition, how it can change your life. Would you please welcome Leisa Wheeler, naturopath from Embracing Health.
Okay, thanks Tanya, and hello everyone, and welcome to this evening's event. My name's Leisa Wheeler. I'm a naturopath, a health and healing mentor and raw food coach, and I run Embracing Health, which is a company that's dedicated to bringing health information that changes lives. I run 6-day detox, healing and raw food retreats all around Australia, and tonight I'm going to share with you some little known facts about food and health that could literally change your life. Most of you will be familiar with the saying, health is wealth. We've all heard it before, but it often doesn't mean much until we have an illness or injury that brings it right into focus. Beyond that, we just want the wealth part of the equation, and the health stuff will look after itself. But what if I was to show you tonight how your health can be your greatest wealth creation asset? That's something that I'm going to share with you tonight. Here, the topic of tonight's talk is learn how to heal your body and achieve the energy and vitality to fulfill your dreams, using the simple truths of food as medicine and the ancient secrets of superfoods. This subject, health as wealth, is a topic that's very personal to me. I'll just share a story about my father. Early on, he was a very successful businessman. He was very dynamic. He took quite a few risks to open some really big supermarkets and stores in Sydney. He was creative, he was innovative, he was a leader, and he took some risks, opened these businesses and started building his empire. Over time, he was very successful with these, and if any of you have your own businesses, you know how many hours it takes and what sort of effort it takes to build those businesses and to be successful, which is what he did. He had his life sorted, he had a lovely family at home, he had a snazzy red sports car, an acreage property with several racehorses, and he was on his way to becoming a very wealthy and very successful man. However, coming into my late teens, he started to get tired. He couldn't put in the hours anymore. He was fatigued, he was depressed, started getting anxiety. And over that time, he slowly started giving up on his business. Eventually, he ended up to the point where he just wasn't interested anymore. So he did give up. He sold all his businesses, and he stayed at home and sat on the couch. Now, 20 years later, my father is on the invalid pension and is suffering with severe chronic fatigue. Now, the one question that I'll ask you is that if my father had have known about the health secrets that I'm going to share with you tonight, would the outcome have been different? And I believe that it would have. Okay. It's a bit early in the night to be sharing this one, but I'm going to be sharing with you what I feel is the number one success strategy secret in the world. Big claim, but that's what I'm leading in with tonight. And that secret is to stay alive and to stay healthy. Pretty big claim. But staying alive and staying healthy are your two greatest assets in not only building your wealth, but in keeping it and enjoying it, enjoying the wealth that you create. There is no greater strategy than that. That is the number one secret. As the saying goes, so many people spend their health gaining their wealth, and then have to spend their wealth to regain their health. Well, we don't want you to do that. We want you to gain your wealth and have your health and enjoy what you create. So what is the point in building wealth if you die young of heart disease, if you are too ill to maintain what you have built and you lose it all? And that's what happened to my dad. If you live out your senior years in a nursing home unable to function, unable to enjoy your life, or if you are too unfit and too unhealthy to enjoy the fruits of your labour, or if you never get to see your grandchildren grow up. These are the things that we don't want to see happen in your life. If you are aiming to be wealthy and successful, then you want to avoid these as well. So is this in your future? Are you looking out over a beautiful scene, but you're not actually participating? Is this the future that you want? Or is this going to be your life? Are you participating, feeling healthy, slim, fit and strong, and loving life to the full? Without good health, how can you live out those dreams? This is it. This is the start. This is where we start with this. Now, your dreams could be anything. It could be scuba diving in exotic locations. It might be trekking the Himalayas. It could be skiing in Europe or Japan or New Zealand or wherever there's great snow. You could be riding camels across the desert. But if you're unhealthy, how can you actually live out these wonderful, amazing adventures in life? So if you associate with this one more and you feel like your dream is dying in an uphill struggle, then don't despair, because tonight what I'm going to share with you are the techniques and the skills that will help you move into that amazing life rather than the uphill struggle. Okay. In seminars, and many of you have probably been to them before, where we're talking about wealth and building businesses and strategies for success. But there is little point in applying any of that information, in being disciplined with the finances, in learning creative ways to develop your business, in visualising your goals and taking that action towards success, if you don't apply the same dedication to looking after your physical body. We all want that fantastic life with the health, the wealth, the friends, the family, the travel, the adventure. But if we're too unfit and unhealthy to take advantage of that, then it's all a waste. What do we do it for? What is the point? As Colonel Harlan Sanders says, there's no reason to be the richest man in the cemetery. You can't do business from there. And we probably have all seen many very wealthy people have their life cut short from illness, or they're too unwell to enjoy it. So they're in and out of hospital, they may have severe depression or mental disorders, and they can't really enjoy their successes. Okay, chronic illness. Now this is the type of illness that the medical establishment does not know what to do with. The medical establishment are fantastic at emergency surgery, at putting people back together when they've been smashed up, at dealing with acute and life-threatening illnesses. But they're not very good at chronic disease and chronic disease management. Often doctors will only offer medication for chronic illness, and that doesn't cure anything. All it does is alleviate the symptoms, but it doesn't heal that underlying cause of the disease that was there in the first place. And when we don't do that, we can go on a downhill slide to ill health. So that first medication may alleviate the symptoms, but then there's side effects. And then we take another medication to get rid of those side effects, and then our quality of life declines, and we can't live the life we envisioned. But it doesn't have to be that way. That's the good news. We don't have to go into that downhill slide. Now, you might have noticed this, most people have, but in Western society we have an epidemic of chronic disease. 1 in 2 people will develop heart disease. 1 in 8 people will develop cancer. There are more than 250 million cases of type 2 diabetes worldwide, and that is growing quickly. The incidence of strokes, Alzheimer's disease, arthritis, hormonal problems, fatigue, obesity, depression, I could go on. They're rampant in society today. And these are the diseases that inhibit our quality of life, they cut short our enjoyment, and they make life living hell for a lot of people. Okay, one of the other chronic problems that we seem to suffer from is that Australia is now the most overweight country in the world. We've actually overtaken the US for this illustrious position. And with that comes a huge amount of chronic illness and disease. And if it's not one of those debilitating chronic diseases affecting us, then it is the number one reason for doctor's visits. And many people weren't aware of that the number one reason that people go to the doctor is for ailments related to stress. Stress. Is anyone familiar with stress? Okay, daily demands build up. And this is what stress often is. It's the daily demands that build up and inhibit our tolerance levels, our ability to cope with life. We have things like job pressures, family commitments, financial pressure. We have deadlines that we need to meet at work. We have things like ill health, toxins in our environment, physical trauma or injury, and even great emotional upheavals can lead to stress. And of course, our body has these beautiful control mechanisms that help us to deal with stress. They're designed to counteract our daily stress, but if the stress is extreme or unusual or long-lasting, that's when these control mechanisms become harmful and inhibit our ability to think clearly and make decisions. And this is a really important point with stress, is that we want to be at our optimum. We want to be at a level where we're thinking clearly, we're able to make good, logical decisions that are going to take us forward in the future, building our business, living our dreams. If we're under huge stress, then our decisions are not clear. We make decisions from a place that isn't centred and peaceful, and this isn't the best place to make those decisions. There are 3 phases of stress: the alarm, resistance, and exhaustion. And we're probably all familiar with these 3 stages, but I'll go through them a little. The alarm phase. This is the fight or flight response. And we're all probably familiar with that. That is the adrenaline pumping. Now, the fight or flight response comes on when we're wandering through the jungle, as we do every day, and the tiger jumps in front of us and says, "Yes, you're going to be my lunch." The reaction we get, the response we get, is fight or flight. It is designed to mobilise us for physical action, that is fight or flight, which is very appropriate when we're faced with a tiger in the jungle. But if that tiger is just our boss, then the response is no longer appropriate. In today's world, there are not many genuine alarm responses, but we've been designed and conditioned to go into that fight or flight mode when we're under pressure. So we can go in and out of this state several times a day. And with that comes damage to our physical body. In this alarm phase, when we're getting ready for that physical activity, that physical action of fight or flight, our heart rate speeds up, our breathing rate increases, we might break into a sweat, our digestive secretions are severely reduced, blood sugar levels are drastically increased as the liver dumps glucose into the bloodstream for energy. We move a lot of the blood system away from our inner organs and it goes to our heart, our lungs and our muscles, ready for that fight or flight. And the most important one for us today is that the logical thinking part of the brain is switched off and the reptilian instinctive part of the brain takes over. Now, I don't know about you, but I certainly don't want that reptilian instinctive part of my brain making my day-to-day business decisions. I don't think it's going to help me get where I want to go. So it is in this state that we easily make mistakes and make decisions based on fear rather than based on logic, on that clear, calm perception that we need to be in. Okay, we can do that alarm phase several times a day depending on what sort of high pressure situation we work in. But resistance is the phase that most of us are familiar with. It's the day in, day out, long-term, decade after decade, relentless stress. Does anyone understand what I'm talking about? Yeah. This is the one that is linked with many of those chronic illnesses. Things like cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, arthritis, Alzheimer's, ulcerative colitis, arthritis, irritable bowel syndrome, depression, anxiety. All of those states are linked with long-term chronic stress. You will notice that the epidemics of chronic disease that I spoke about earlier are the same ones that are linked to high stress, and that's no coincidence. Stress leads to these disease states, and we need to learn how to manage these states for optimal health. Now, in the resistance phase, along with that reptilian brain that's coming in and doing our thinking for us and giving us that instinctive thought, one of the other big factors that happens in stress that can affect our ability to achieve is that the digestive system practically shuts down. Our bodies are very, very clever. If we're in the jungle and the tiger's chasing us, our body says, well, I've got all this energy that I'm putting into digesting my lunch, but the tiger's chasing me, and if I don't watch it, I'm going to be lunch. So where will I put my energy? Will I digest my lunch, or will I save my life? And the body's very clever. It will say, well, I can do that digesting part later. I'll save my life first, and then when I'm safe in my cave, I'll switch the digestion back on. And that's all very well and good when all we have to do is run away from the tiger. But in today's world, our stress can last for decades. And if our stress lasts for decades, when do we ever switch that digestive system back on? When we don't switch it on, we don't absorb our nutrients well. If we're already eating nutrient-depleted food, then this just makes the situation a lot worse. Nutrient deficiencies mean lower energy, and our mind and body don't function at their optimal level. Now, just a little bit of anatomy and physiology on the digestive system. What is meant to happen is that we get a signal from our body that says, I'm hungry. That's the first step. Then we start to think about food, and then we may go and gather our food. We prepare it. We look at the food, we smell the food, we might even taste the food, and all of that sensory engagement switches on that digestive system. Then we're meant to sit quietly and relaxed and chew the food really well. We chew it into a liquid or a paste, swallow the food, where it hits the stomach that has a pool of acid. That acid turns the food to liquid, where it moves into our small intestines, and we absorb that food molecule by molecule. We don't absorb great big chunks of food. We absorb a vitamin, a glucose molecule, an amino acid. And that's the way we get very good nutrition that goes in to assist our body in its optimal function. But our lives don't usually look like that. What we often do is we're in a rush, so we grab some food at the takeaway or the drive-through, or we throw something in the microwave between the kids' soccer game and the dance recital, and we eat at our desk or we eat in the car on the run. So we don't often even get that signal that I'm hungry. We look at the time and we say, oh, it's lunchtime. So we miss the signalling. We don't prepare our own food, so we also miss looking, smelling, tasting, thinking about food. After that, we are eating on the run, so instead of chewing our food really well, we almost inhale it, and it goes down and hits our stomach in great big chunks of food, and we don't have the digestive juices to break that down any further. So that food sits in our stomach and it churns with that little bit of acid that's there, but it can't move on until it's liquid. So it ferments and we bloat. And even men can look like they're a bit pregnant with their bloated bellies after eating. And then the food churns and creates gas, and it can push up against the esophagus and we get indigestion. Is anyone feeling familiar with this type of scenario with their food? Then the food eventually moves on, goes into the small intestine, and we can't absorb big chunks of food. We absorb molecule by molecule. So we become nutrient deficient. And through those nutrient deficiencies, we have a hard time running our body at its best. Anthony Robbins said, the higher your energy level, the more efficient your body. The more efficient your body, the better you feel, and the more you will use your talent to produce outstanding results. And that's what this talk is about tonight. That to produce outstanding results in your life, you need to dedicate time and effort into building a healthy, strong body. Okay, when we've been in the resistance phase for many years, some of us hit exhaustion. The adrenals just can't keep up, and some of the hormones that were very high in that resistance phase are now very low in exhaustion. Some of us never hit exhaustion. We go our whole lives and live in the resistance phase, and with that comes a lot of chronic illness. Some of us, though, are lucky enough to hit exhaustion and get a wake-up call that life isn't meant to be lived that way. Now, I was really lucky. I got my wake-up call and hit exhaustion in my early 20s. But you don't have to be a perfectionist, control freak, workaholic to get there. You can just be in the resistance phase for quite a long period of time, and you can exhaust those adrenals. With adrenal exhaustion, this is how you can feel. That you're half there, but half of you is actually out to lunch. You're not really with it. In the exhaustion phase, there are a few symptoms that go with that. We have severe fatigue, depression, anxiety, brain fog. We have an inability to concentrate or focus, especially on details. There's memory loss, irritability, and apathy. Now, does that sound like the type of state that you want to be in if success in business, success in any area of your life is your goal? If our priorities, if our goals are wealth and success and living an amazing life, then we don't want to hit here. We don't want to get to exhaustion. So we have to take some steps to stop that. Okay. In the exhaustion phase, we also see quite a bit of weight gain. Being so tired all the time, we don't have time for exercise. We're lucky to prepare a nice meal because we're exhausted at the end of the day. We'd most often rather sleep than actually take care of our health. So with weight gain, it does bring with it also a host of health issues that we discussed before, the chronic illness, and it inhibits our ability to live life to the full and enjoy the energy and vitality that is our birthright. And we forget that. We forget that energy and vitality is a way we were meant to live. We're so busy just getting by and getting through the day and collapsing into bed at night that we forget that there's more to life than that. The good news is that all of these issues are largely preventable and reversible. So even if you do identify with the symptoms there in that exhaustion phase, the good news is that you can turn it around with very simple changes to diet and lifestyle. And this is what I teach people when I coach on raw foods and what I do at my retreats. And that is to show people how simple it can be. Because we live in a very complex technological society, we think that food and health also has to be complex. But my whole way of teaching is to show people it can be easy and it can be quick and it can be simple. We need to incorporate it into our lives so that we can get the best results. And food is one of those really key areas in nutrition, in nourishment for success. Now, food. We all think we know a bit about food, but it has changed. Food isn't food anymore. Has anyone noticed that in the supermarket? Food is not food. Rather than being a life-sustaining element of nature, food has become a commodity used to generate profit. And that's basically where most of the food that's in the supermarket sits. It's a commodity. It's not there for your health. Manufacturers will take a whole product, so they might take a whole grain. Then they will strip it of all its goodness so that the end product has a long shelf life. And the reason it has a long shelf life is that all the enzymes, the antioxidants and nutrients have been stripped out of it. Then they take this product, this processed product, and then they add to it. So we might see sugar, salt, fats, artificial colours, flavours and preservatives, all added to this base food that is no longer really a food. And then with some slick marketing, they advertise it, we all think we need this food, and we can try it, tastes okay, we can become addicted to it. In the end, this is a product, not a food. It actually has no place in a healthy lifestyle. Another reason that we've become so reliant on packaged processed food that isn't really food, it's fake food, is that we're so busy. We have these busy lives where we're trying to fit in 100 things every day, and food often goes by the wayside. We don't have the mum at home preparing the meals all the time now. It's a two-parent working family. We think it takes time to prepare real food, whereas it's very simple to throw a packet in the microwave and it's ready in 3 minutes. Convenience wins out all the time, and that is understandable. And it is very understandable when we realise that we haven't been taught how to work with real food, how to make very simple recipes in a few minutes in the kitchen that will then sustain and nourish us without having to go to the microwaved, packaged, processed fake food. When we do rely on convenience food and takeaways, we pay the price with our health. So something suffers. When we start to suffer, because we're so used to convenience, there's a pill for every ill mentality. So we may go to the chemist or the doctor, we will look for a medication to alleviate the symptoms, not understanding that the choices we've made with our food and lifestyle are what has caused the illness in the first place. And once we get on that medication, as we see, it's a downhill slide into ill health. So we need to move back to a diet that includes more whole living foods as nature intended. In that category, there's quite a lot. Many people think, well, if I eliminate the package, the processed, the tinned, the frozen, the microwave, all the things that I have in my pantry, what is there left to eat? You know, I'll be eating rabbit food, or see me live on lettuce. And that's not it. We have an enormous range of foods, and especially in this country, we're very lucky with the range of foods we have. But in this whole food, we have fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, greens, which can include grasses or algae, sea vegetables, which is quite unknown in Australia as a staple of the diet, and we have superfoods. Now, if you're not a vegan or vegetarian, also that what can fall, or the food that can fall into that category is animal products, but animal products that are not processed. So we're talking free-range, organic, antibiotic-free, hormone-free, grass-fed, different to what we have in standard supermarkets or butcher shops, and only small amounts. T. Colin Campbell wrote a book called The China Study. Some of you may have read it. And in there he showed that people that don't suffer from chronic disease, that have longevity and have long, healthful lives eat a mainly plant-based diet. So it doesn't mean they're all vegetarian, but they are mainly plant-based. So that means keeping the animal products to about 10% of the diet. So it doesn't mean you have to give them up completely. This type of diet can make an enormous difference in our physical body, physical health, our mental health, our attitude towards life, and our energy levels. It sometimes seems too simple, too easy. It's only food. But food is one of the most powerful healing tools that you will find. It is incredible the results that it can have. Now, fruits and veggies contain vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients, enzymes, cofactors, chlorophyll and fibre. But what we don't know is the nutrients that we haven't discovered yet. It's been estimated that a leaf of spinach contains up to 12,000 different nutrients and natural plant chemicals. And do you know how many of those we've discovered? 150. Which means that in that leaf of spinach there is 11,850 other nutrients that we don't know what they do. We don't know whether some of those nutrients have amazing healing properties in the body, but we haven't identified them, replicated them, put them into a bottle and sold them as the latest health fad. But in that leaf of spinach is an amazing synergy of nutrients that can have incredible healing properties. So we've only just scratched the surface of the nutrient content of whole food. You might think reading health articles or magazines that we know all there is to know about food. Well, we don't. Not at all. What we do know is that when we eat processed foods full of sugar, bad fat, salt, artificial colours, flavours and preservatives, that they offer nothing of value to the body except empty calories and poisons that we have to detoxify through our system. So it does nothing for us, processed foods. These foods also do something that is really important, and that is they lie to our senses. Food in nature that is full of nutrition is flavoursome. And these foods that are artificially flavoured lie to us. We think we're getting something that's very nutritious because of the flavour, and yet it's not. These flavours overstimulate our taste buds and we become addicted to them. You might have heard the slogan, "I bet you can't eat just one." Yeah, well, I bet you can't eat just one because they're very, very highly addictive. When we eat these foods that are full of flavour but nutrient deficient, we become malnourished of vital nutrients, and this affects our body and our state of mind. So becoming good at reading labels isn't the answer. I have many people who come to me in clinic or at my retreats and say, "But I'm really good at reading those labels. Look, I know what this number means and I know what that means." And my answer to that is that why do you need to eat a food that has a label on it? Fresh produce doesn't need labels. Fresh whole food doesn't need a label. And that is where the answers are to good health, in not having a label. So this is real food. It's full of colour, flavour, it's bursting with freshness. Food that is good for you will decay very quickly, and that's what we want. We want it to be alive. Versus fake food. And I love this. We have an aspartame cola, an MSG burger, some genetically altered spuds, some fluoride water, and a bit of Prozac just to go with that. That's what we don't want to eat. Okay. So a lot of what we see on the supermarket shelves today is just not food. It is a commercial product designed to put money in the pockets of multinational companies and their shareholders. And supporting that is not going to help you or the environment become any healthier. We have choices. We have choices with every dollar that we spend on food. And our choices go further than just our body. Of course, that's where we get the biggest impact. It's in our body. But these choices go further. Do we want to support local, sustainable, organic farming that nurtures the earth and the planet? Or do we want to support companies that pollute the environment with chemicals, use artificial fertilisers that strip the ground of nutrients, and don't do our bodies any good at all? So we have the choice with our dollars to vote where to spend them. And what we're doing is saying, yes, I want more of that whenever we purchase something. We don't realise the power that we have with our dollar. When we purchase something, we're saying, yes, I want more of that. So if we want more chemicals, pollution, and unsustainable agriculture that pollutes the earth, then we say yes to those type of foods. If, however, we want to see local community organic farms, then that's where we spend our dollars. Okay, this is one of my favourite subjects, and that is that the body can heal itself. Has anyone heard of that before? That the body can heal. Given the right tools and the right environment, the body can heal itself. And this is something that I believe because I've experienced it in practice. I've seen it happen time and time again. As we move away from our natural state, we increase our chances of developing chronic disease. It's actually moving back to nature, to those whole foods that give us the health and allow our body to heal. We have to look at where we've come from and introduce just simple truths into our lives. As I said, I like to keep it easy. And none of this will be new to you. It's all very straightforward. You've probably heard it 100 times, but it's whether you actually act on it that makes the difference. The 7 laws to health: eat fresh food, drink clean water, breathe clean fresh air, exercise daily, get adequate sunshine daily, use herbs and superfoods for illness, and stress management. So there's no surprises there. This is the way we would have lived naturally if we weren't in such a modern civilised society that's taken us away from that. And this is where we go wrong. We go wrong with our health. And because we go wrong with our health, the rest of our life can't come together. We just can't make it work because right at the top of the tree, we've got it wrong. Anne Wigmore was a great healer and pioneer. And she said the sober truth is that there is no cure for anything besides the body's inherent ability to heal itself. And as a practitioner and as a raw food coach, that's my job, to initiate the healing response in the body. So the body can heal itself. If we have a little cut on our arm, we don't need to go to the doctor and take a medicine to make that heal. We don't have to have a clotting drug to make it form a clot. We don't need another drug to make it grow new skin. The body heals itself. And this is what we're trying to initiate when we're cleansing the body, when we're going back to natural foods, when we're using these 7 laws to health. That's what we're trying to achieve, to initiate a response in the body so that it can heal itself. And I haven't seen anything more powerful than these simple tools. I'll go through them in a little more detail, but we don't need to get right into them. They're quite straightforward. But eat fresh food, we've talked about, self-explanatory. Fresh, whole, living foods as found in nature. Ignore the processed, packaged, artificially coloured, flavoured, preserved, genetically modified, molecularly altered, herbicide, larvicide, fungicide, pesticide-laden products. So if we can move those out of the diet, all we've got left is those beautiful whole foods that we've spoken about. Drinking clean water is important. We do have water that is laden with chemicals and pollutants, and it's dead coming out of the tap. If you compare the water at the bottom of a beautiful waterfall and the energy and oxygen contained in that water, and then look at what's coming out of the tap, we can see we have a problem. So we need to filter and energise our water. Breathing clean, fresh air is a bit difficult, especially when we live in the city. But getting out in nature and really learning to breathe is important. Grant will be touching on the importance of the breath later tonight. Exercising daily. And this is one that we probably don't want to know about. To be really healthy, to achieve that high level success, we need to move our body. We think that we don't have time, we're too busy. But the truth of that is that when we exercise, when we eat well, we become more efficient and more productive. So it actually pays off. We get more done. We think more clearly. We make better decisions. So the exercise becomes a daily habit and part of our life. How are we going to trek through the Himalayas if we puff when we walk up a flight of stairs? It just doesn't go together. How can we scuba dive if we can't even swim a few metres without having to stop and hold on to the edge? Fitness is part of living an amazing life. Sunshine? Sunshine is not the enemy that it's been made out to be. Adequate sunshine is important. It creates vitamin D in our body. Vitamin D is important for building strong, healthy bones, for raising our mood, especially if we feel down through winter. And it is also our most anti-cancer vitamin. So it is a premier vitamin for preventing cancers. Now, adequate, according to Dr. Michael Holick, who wrote a book called The UV Advantage, is to estimate how long it would take you to burn if you went and sunbaked in the sun as it was without any sunscreens. So if it was 9:30 in the morning, you might take an hour before you would burn. He says to sunbake without sunscreens for 25% of that time, so that would be 15 minutes. And if we do that 3 or 4 times a week, we will have adequate vitamin D levels. Herbs and superfoods I'm going to speak about in a moment. But stress management, that's a big factor in becoming healthy. Exercise helps, meditation helps, breath work helps. But one big thing is finding that passion in life. When we have something that drives us to get out of bed of a morning, we have something that inspires us, the problems seem smaller. We have drive, we're getting going every day, and that can really help. And I love this quote: "If I'd known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself." On his 100th birthday. And we can probably all identify with that. If we're looking back from 100, we would want to take care of ourselves now. Health is about balance, and success is also about balance. And these are the vital areas that we need to bring together to achieve that. Of course, we need to focus on the physical body, but there's also the mental and emotional body, the social network we have and support system, our financial or life security. And that doesn't necessarily just mean financial security as in wealth. It is designing our lives so that we feel secure, so we don't have that survival anxiety that can tear us apart day in, day out. Our environment plays a role in our health, and our spirituality or connection to something greater than ourselves gives us a feeling of well-being. So it's when these 6 areas are really well balanced and integrated that we get the best feeling of being healthy. So you can live the life of your dreams, but it is up to you to take the steps to become the best, healthiest, most energetic version of yourself that you can be, which is inspiring. Now, one of the things that can help us to get there are superfoods. Is everyone familiar with the term superfoods? Have many people heard of that? Yeah. Superfoods are a category of foods found in nature that contain superior amounts of very potent healing nutrients. Many of them are ancient foods, and they are very, very powerful. So they're very dense in nutrition. So they may be from any category of foods that we spoke about earlier. They can be in the vegetable family, they can be fruits or berries, they can be grasses or algae. Some nuts are superfoods, some sea vegetables are. But all of them contain high levels of antioxidants, and they're very, very dense in nutrients, but low in calorie. And we only need small amounts of them to obtain the effects. The body recognises nutrients in synergy. And this is why superfoods have it all over vitamin supplements. Because superfoods contain all of the nutrients that the plant had originally. When we look at an orange, for example, we know that the orange has vitamin C in it and hundreds of bioflavonoids that enhance and potentise the vitamin C. Yet if we go to the health food store and buy a bottle of vitamin C, often that's all it will contain, just vitamin C. If we're lucky, we might have 3 bioflavonoids included, which would be rutin, hesperidin and quercetin. But in the orange there are hundreds. And how do we know that number 328 doesn't have miraculous healing properties? We just haven't discovered it yet. So superfoods are normally very, very low processed, or there is no processing with them. So they may take a berry and dry it at a low temperature so the enzymes and antioxidants are still intact, and then they may powder that so it becomes a very strong superfood that we can add into drinks or smoothies and gain the benefit of that. So the body does not respond to synthetic vitamins the way it does to whole foods, which contain all of those nutrients intact. Now, in history, superfoods have been used for healing purposes, for heightened awareness and mental clarity. And these are the things that we're interested in as a group that is keen to look at success and wealth building and living the best life you can. Altered states, I'm not so sure we really want to get into those. I don't think you should try this at home. But they're also used for sacred ritual, for religious ceremonies, and also in celebration. These foods have properties beyond those that we have discovered yet. With all our science, we still haven't discovered all of the properties of food. But these ancient cultures knew these secrets, and they harnessed the power of these foods in their lives. Cacao. Now, this is one of the superfoods, and I'm sure you didn't think you were coming here tonight to learn about chocolate. But chocolate is a wonderful superfood. It's one of the most potent superfoods that we have. So you'll all be happy to know that chocolate is king. It's literally known as the food of the gods. And cacao beans were used in Aztec culture as currency and were still used as standard currency in Mexico up until 1887. So the cacao beans, when we say chocolate is rich, that's made its way through our language, through the languaging, the history of the cacao bean. And what we're talking about here is the raw whole bean straight from the tree. No processing, no heating, no changing the structure of any kind. The real raw whole bean, straight from the chocolate tree. Cacao is wealth. Cacao embodies the energy of abundance and opportunity. Built into the cacao bean is the possibility to go from long shot to legend, from depression to profound optimism. The possibility of being the lottery winner, the possibility of going from rags to riches. This is the special, unique energy that makes cacao the most powerful food on earth. And this is from David Wolfe and Shazzy, who wrote a book called Naked Chocolate, which is a whole book just dedicated to chocolate. In there are hundreds of recipes using raw cacao beans, whether it's the whole bean, the nib or the powder. It still contains the value and the superfood nutrition because it hasn't been processed. Cacao was used in ritual and celebration. Montezuma served cacao drinks at his great feasts, and it was rumoured he would consume large amounts or large quantities of this drink before visiting his harem, which I guess shows that it provides a lot of stamina. It's also been written that the divine drink which builds up resistance and fights fatigue. A cup of this precious drink permits a man to walk for a whole day without food. And this is what we're looking for. We can eat as many salads as we like, we can add in the fruits and vegetables, but in today's society, with all the toxins, the stress, and the illness that we have or our friends and family are suffering from, these are the type of foods that are going to elevate us out of that. They're going to take us to a new level of health, one where we have that clarity of mind, where we can have the vision and live the life we choose to live. With cacao, it was adulterated. Eventually, it was combined with sugar, and that inhibited its healing properties. Whenever we change a food from its original state, we seem to ruin it. Humans are good at that. In 1828, a Dutch chemist perfected a process to produce a cheap form of chocolate that enabled large-scale manufacturing. So what they did was they took the raw cacao bean, they squeezed out through heat to make cocoa and cacao butter, and then these products were cheap and for sale in bulk. But it ruined the properties of the food. In 1867, Nestle invented a process to make milk powder, and soon after, the world's first milk chocolate bar was born. With doing the processing like that, the healing properties of raw cacao are all but lost. But our senses are still telling us that chocolate is okay. Our senses are not wrong. They know the power of the raw cacao bean, but they aren't able to understand how it's been processed and changed and adulterated. So our senses aren't lying to us. Chocolate is good. In its raw state, cacao is one of the richest sources of antioxidants, containing flavonols that are higher than green tea, red wine, and blueberries. So we all hear about the benefits of green tea or drinking a glass of red wine every night. And chocolate has come into this. You might have heard about having a few pieces of dark chocolate and the antioxidants. The processed state has no comparison to the raw cacao bean. Even that small amount of dark chocolate that has been advised to eat for the antioxidant content, this runs rings over it. Raw cacao contains a chemical called theobromine, which is mildly stimulating. When used in moderation, it can aid concentration, focus, and clarity of mind. And that's what we're looking for. In large amounts, it can also keep you awake all night, just like coffee. But in moderation, it's a really potent brain activator, if you like. It really gives you clarity of mind. So it's a type of chocolate that is the important bit. In nature, foods that are very highly nutritious have very strong flavours. And this is what the manufacturers have played upon, the fact that when we look for strong flavours in foods, we are thinking we're getting a lot of nutrition. So the raw cacao bean has a strong bitter flavour, which says a lot about its healing properties. And you will find that in nature. Our body isn't silly. When we take out the processed, packaged, highly salted, sugary, processed food, we start to taste food again. Then when we eat that strawberry, we can taste the nutrition in it. We know it's doing us good. Our instinct starts to kick in. We start to be attracted to foods that we need rather than foods that have lied to our senses and changed what we really are attracted to. The foods that have artificial flavours, they lie to us. We think that there's nutrition in there, our senses taste it, and there's a promise that just doesn't come through for us. So the good news is it's not a lack of willpower. It's not a lack of willpower why we're attracted to foods that are strong in flavour, that have a salty, sugary, fatty taste to them. In nature, these are the foods that would do us the most good. It's just that manufacturers have played on that. There are lots of superfoods, and I'm not going to go through the whole range of superfoods tonight, but there are others that provide us with superior nutrition, and chlorella is one. It's a natural grown algae that has a perfect complement of nutrients, and some people have lived exclusively on chlorella for decades in great health. It's not something I'd advise. We enjoy other food, but it is a very, very superior product. 60% protein, which is highly absorbable. Chlorophyll, a blood, liver and bowel cleanser. It assists in the removal of heavy metals and toxins from the body. It enhances tissue growth and repair, so it's anti-aging, which is something that most of us are interested in. And it supports the immune system. With foods like this available and the benefits that are found in just these simple, easily obtained products, it makes a lot of sense to include these in our diets. It gives our bodies what they need to heal and function at that super level. And that's what we're looking for. You're not here tonight because you are apathetic about your life. You're here because you want answers that are going to change your life and make it better. And this is where it starts. It starts with you, with your body, with the food you eat, with what you choose to fuel every cell that you have within you. In a video called Food Matters, David Wolfe, who's a raw food advocate, says, "You can have the most powerful, potent, nutritious superfood in this hand or the most toxic processed product here. And you have the choice as to what you are going to put in your mouth. And choosing the superfood is the one that's going to take you to another level." So tonight, we learned the number one success strategy in the world. And that is to stay alive and to stay healthy. You will not have success without it. We learned that staying alive and staying healthy are the two greatest assets in building and keeping and enjoying the wealth you create. As we said, there's little point in being disciplined with your finances, doing all the things that you are taught in business seminars, money-making or wealth-building seminars. There is little point in doing those, being disciplined, learning creative ways to develop the business, visualising your goals, manifesting, getting the mindset right, taking action towards your success. There is no point in that if you don't apply the same dedication to looking after your physical body. So your health really is your wealth. This is the starting point. And this is what I love for people to learn, that if they heal their bodies, they can do anything. With boundless energy, this is it, a fit, strong body and a sharp, focused mind, there is no limit to what you can achieve. And this is what I love to teach in my retreats and in different lectures and seminars, is just that you can heal your body and you can live an outstanding life. It's all very achievable and it's very easy. I teach simple recipes that take whole foods and make the most beautiful creations that are tasty. There's no reason to think that whole foods are boring. They are not. Just try my raw vegan cheesecake and you'll soon understand that food like that can be amazing. So it sounds simple, it sounds easy, but it's you taking action that makes the difference. These secrets that I've shared with you tonight are those that can literally change your life. So you can live the life of your dreams and be healthy, happy and active as you watch your great-grandchildren grow up. There's no greater gift to give yourself, and it starts with you. It's your choice. Choose health. So thank you very much. Thank you.